Hello everybody, ADV here, and welcome to another edition of Reef Talk. Alright, today I am going to talk to you about the top 7 fish for a beginner aquarist to keep in practically any tank, because a beginner aquarist will not like to. I would not recommend a beginner aquarist to start keeping coral right away. You got to get used to in the hobby and keep a few basic fish before getting into the expert mode or the intermediate mode. But here is my top 7 list of fish for the beginner aquarist to start out with that will basically, if you make any mistakes, they can be forgiven. And so without further ado, let's head on to number 7. Number 7, we got the Niger triggerfish. Alright, the Niger triggerfish. It is a beautiful fish. It has this kind of midnight dark blue to it. I have one in my tank. I don't know if you see it in my tank right now. Here, there's some points in it. It's right over there. They have red colored sharp razor teeth basically. They eat anything you offer it. It can be from anti-parasite caviar to flake food to the clams, half on the shell. It could be silver sides, it could be shrimp, the big pieces of it, what eels eat. It could be brine shrimp, mysis shrimp, reef blend. They eat anything. They're complete aggressive on when it comes to feeding. So without further ado, I'm going to explain why sometimes people say it's not safe to keep in a reef tank. Like you see him here right now, he's not destroying any of my corals. I have a corals varying from NPS soft corals. I have LPS corals and I have SPS corals. I have pretty much every single type of coral in my tank, and I'm still not even done collecting corals. But what I'm gonna say is why I actually consider him reef safe under caution. Well, number one, why he's a good choice for a beginner aquarist that would like to keep something more cool in the reef tank is because, first of all, the way he swims. If you see the way in my video right here how he swims, he kind of flaps his dorsal fin and the bottom, I think it's annual fin. So basically, it kind of flaps like a bird. So my family named him. His nickname is Bird. So basically, because it swims, it looks like a bird in the ocean basically, and it's a cool looking fish, and it has some nice colored teeth, and also has a serpent moon-shaped tail coming up with streamers sometimes, which is a cool addition to your reef tank. And not only that, they're kind of hit and miss. Same thing with angelfish and butterflies, and sometimes tangs. When you introduce them in the reef tank, you're taking a hit and miss. Sometimes they would like to be reef safe, sometimes they're not. You can have 100 Niger triggerfishes going through, and all of a sudden just one of them going to be a destroyer in your reef tank. Now sometimes over time, the more they grow, the more aggression they have. That's why you have to start out small so they'll get used to their tank surroundings and not be as aggressive when it comes to being against, like, chomping down a coral and everything like that. But why I consider this fish to be a good choice for a beginner aquarist is because it is easy to take care of, and it feeds off of almost anything you offer it. So basically, you won't starve the poor fish to death like the madron goby, because if you buy madron goby and do not have a good copepod population, it could eventually die, unless, for example, you're gonna have a madron goby that'll actually eat frozen food. Mine, I got him to eat frozen food. Finally, it took me like a year, but finally I got my madron goby to eat frozen food, which is a good thing. But without further ado, the Niger triggerfish is one of the easiest triggerfish to keep in your for a beginner aquarist, because it is forgiving. It really does not even show aggression to other fish. Like you can see, it did show a little bit of aggression when I introduced it to the clown, and the clownfish were kind of scared of it and whatnot, but now it is basically peaceful, not bothering anybody. I'm pretty sure if I stick another fish in there in the tank, it'll probably be attacking it for a while, but I have no problems with him whatsoever. Number 6, we have the yellow tang. Now, at number 6, we have the yellow tang. Now, why do I say the yellow tang? First of all, many people, for beginner Aquarius, they say you cannot keep tangs as a beginner Aquarius. I reject that. Sure, there is tangs that will catch ick or whatever, but the yellow tang can be another forgiving fish. First of all, they're hardy. Number 2, they eat algae. So basically, if you don't want to introduce snails in your tank at first and and you want that algae growing to be under control, the yellow tang is a good choice, because first of all, as you can see here, I'm pointing at him right now. If you can see him, he was just picking off of algae on the rocks, and they take care of most of the algae. Now, they won't take care of red slime algae. You have to sort of take care of that yourself, but he will pick off almost on every single thing of algae. And that's why I say they're good for reef tank, good for beginner Aquarius, and also they eat anything you offer him. Actually, I heard that when you buy him, you gotta buy this seafood type thing. It's like the sea plant. No, not sea plant. It's it's like this flaky sea algae or something like that. You gotta buy for him. I've been offering that seaweed for him a while, and he would not eat it. He would rather have more of the mysis and brine shrimp and flake food that's supplement of garlic. So basically, it eats everything, and it could be forgiven fish. It's meant to be as the first tank to introduce into your reef tank, because it is not as aggressive as the regill tang. The regill tang is one of the most aggressive fish to keep between tanks. So I heard the best thing you can do is to add a yellow tang first to your tank before putting other tangs in there, because other tangs are actually more aggressive than a yellow tang. And at number 5, we got that Zero Damsel. Now at number 5, we have the Zero Damsel. You can see him in my tank going right across there. Zero Damsels are often confused by yellow tangs, and yellow tangs are the guys who are considered the pigs, because they grow huge, 3 inches. Now, the Zero Damsel does grow the same size as the yellow tang, which is 3 inches. But here's the thing: the yellowtail damsel is way more aggressive than the Zero Damsel. The yellowtail damsel, I had more problems with the yellowtail damsel than the Zero Damsel. I had yellowtail damsels actually pick off of peppermint shrimp. They would not leave it alone. I had to give up that one and get myself a peaceful damsel, because it would tear apart peppermint shrimps. It would chase down other fish. I'm telling you, it was nasty fish. But the Zero Damsel, the way you can tell between the Zero Damsel and the yellowtail damsel is simple. The Zero Damsel will have yellow going from the tail all the way down pretty much to the front of its body. The yellowtail damsel will have only that yellow tail, and that's it. The rest is blue. The Zero Damsel, for me, I think it's a more beautiful fish than that yellowtail damsel, even though I'm going to probably stick a yellowtail damsel in here, because I have all these fish now, and they have their territory already centered out. So basically, then it's time to add the more aggressive fish, where they have to find now a new territory, because everything else is taken. They have to fight for it. But basically, the territory of other fish already controlled. So the yellowtail damsel could be, I could add later. But the Zero Damsel actually is not that aggressive at all. It is hardy fish. It's one of the first fish I would recommend putting in your tank when it's been cycled out to start things going. It is very easy to keep. It's basically also eats algae. Some of the damsels will eat platforms, and which I am gonna go on to the next subject of the Sapphire Damsel, because Sapphire Damsel is what will eat platforms. And at number 4, we got the Sapphire Damsel. Now, number 4, we got the Sapphire Damsel. It's a beautiful damsel, and it looks like a sapphire gem. Now, it's one of the rarest damsels to find that will actually eat flatworms, and that's pests coming from your live rock that you do not want. Those sapphire damsels will eat your pest flatworms. Now, my friend Eddie, one time we went to the shop together. He keeps a freshwater fish tank, a 10-gallon. But anyway, I was like, you wanna go check this out at the fish tank, these type of fish? He's like, yeah, sure, let's go check it out. And anyway, he was looking through. He really doesn't like big fish. He likes more of the smaller, beautiful, more fish. And in the fish shop, they had this damsel called the Sapphire Damsel. He looked at that. He's like, if I'm getting a reef tank, I'm getting 10 of those instead of the green and blue chromies. They look so striking, rich of color, and it makes you want to buy them. And they're not that expensive either. They were like $11 each. And so maybe if I bought several of them, they'll give me as a deal. But I didn't buy them yet. I'm gonna buy them soon, hopefully. But anyway, the Sapphire Damsel is one of the easiest fish to keep. It eats exactly like the Zero Damsel, but it is and will eat pest investing flatworms in your reef tank, which is a good way to get rid of flatworms if you're a new beginner aquarist and do not know how to do it. Without further ado, let's go on to number 3. What do we have in store for number 3? And at number 3, we got the Firefish. Alright, for number 3, we got Firefish. Now, there's a purple Firefish, there's another type of Firefish, and then there's a Firefish, and then there's also a similar cousin called the Dartfish, the Zebra Dartfish. Now, I'm going to go stay away from those a little bit. Let's go on just to the Firefish, because the other types of species of Firefish are a little bit harder to take care of. The Firefish are a part of the goby family. They're very similar to the goby family, and I think they are. And if you are an experienced aquarist, an expert, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I say the Firefish are in the goby family, because the goby family has over 1,000 different types of fish in it. Now, we're gonna go on to talk about Firefish. First of all, Firefish are very striking of color. They have this fire color, which is really cool. And also, when they swim, they go with their dorsal fin like this, like that, and they would like kind of hover in the water, and they would stay pretty much in one place and hover in the water. And it's so cool. They swim around. They're peaceful. They won't touch anybody, and they eat everything you offer them. And also, but there's one thing you got to keep in mind. You might want to put a top on the tank, because I actually had one that jumped over and died because I didn't have a top in my tank. But they can jump out of aquariums if they're scared. Now, what they would do if they're really scared, they would go right into their home, which is like their hole in the rock, and they would hide in there and like from their predators. But here's another thing: if you have a mantis shrimp or like something like that, or an eel in that hole, it's most likely gonna get eaten by whatever's in that hole. So that's the only drawback: to not keep anything that would eat that Firefish when it gets scared and goes into the hole, because that's what they would do. They would dart into bolt tight holes, so no other predator get them. But what they don't know is what is at the end of that little hole. Is it a moray eel, or is it mantis shrimp that's huge? You'll have a lovely dinner there, right there. And it's a $20 fish. You do not want to do that. But without further ado, let's go to number 2. I'm getting excited, guys. And at number 2, we got the Percula clownfish. And number 2, we have Percula clownfish. They are one of the most coolest fish to keep in any reef tank. As you can see here, I have a pair of Percula clowns. First of all, if you get the ones that are wild bred, they will most likely go into an anemone. But they come in so many different colors and stripe patterns. Just stay away from the Clarky clowns, the tomato clowns, and around areas like that. But the Percula clownfish are really so easy to take care of. They're part of the damsel family, and they're actually not as aggressive as other clownfish. People say they're aggressive, but I've never had problems with Percula clownfish. I had problems with maroon clownfish, where the yellow striped maroons, because they're so aggressive. But anyway, the Parkula clownfish are really easy to take care of. They'll eat anything, and they're very peaceful fish. They come in like orange, they come in black. They even came out with this cherry type. It came out with this Picasso. They have the Wyoming clownfish. They have this black ice clownfish. They have this true Parkula clowns. So basically, there are many different color variants, and they're not hard to keep whatsoever. And that's what's the cool part, that you can have a pair peacefully and swimming over gracefully in the aquarium. And that brings me to number 1, which is another part of the damsel family. And the number 1 fish to keep in a reef aquarium, or any beginner aquarists would like to start with, is the blue and green chromis. And at number 1, we got the blue and green chromis. Now, I do not have them in my tank yet, but I plan to have 7 of them. They look cool in a school, and they kind of have this, like, you ever see a picture where you kind of bend in one area and you have a different kind of like view of the picture, like the picture changes completely? Well, that's sort of what the blue and green chromis. They kind of like, it's like a lure. It flashes blue and green, and doesn't look like ugly. At first you look at the picture of the fish, what the camera can't capture, and it looks ugly, but in real life with your eyes, it has this like glare that goes flashing blue and green, and which makes them look attractive in the reef tank, because they have this nice schooling effect. You know, basically, they're completely peaceful, not like unlike damsels and clownfish. They're the most peaceful type of fish to keep, in my opinion, and they will eat anything. And they tend to not attack any other fish. Like I told you, they're peaceful. So basically, if you're new to fish aquariums and you start in a peaceful community tank, that's my go-to. You gotta start with that blue and green chromis. You will not regret having them. I recommend at least a group of 3, a trio. If you have a 55-gallon, I would put 5 in there, 7, just to start things off. Basically, if you have a big enough tank, try to keep 7. And I also heard, it's a rumor, I'm not sure how true it is, do not try to get an even number, try to get an odd number. That way, there's basically, chances are you won't have pairs fighting off into pairs. Basically, you'll have this kind of a leader in the whole group. So basically, try to get an odd number of blue and green chromis. But yeah, that's what my recommendation is. And thank you for watching this YouTube video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Comment down in the comments below if you would like to have anything else on Reef Talk. Maybe you would like to ask a question about a certain fish. I could definitely bring that up in Reef Talk and talk about just that whole fish, or like this invertebrate species or this coral species. I will try to answer your questions as best as I can, and we'll see how things go. But also, don't forget to like this video, share it to anybody you know about the aquariums, and we're gonna see you next time on the Reef Talk channel.